Mm. Spartan Dog Nation, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Spartan Dog Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Devin Armstrong, joined by my guy, East Coast Rel, and
Let's go.
Jordan. We all three here. A little bit late. I know everybody else has probably come out with their reactions already, and we're coming a little bit late here with our
All right.
reactions to the Florida Atlantic game. But man, I mean, compared to all the hype we were putting around this team, I mean, this is kind of our own, self-doing when it
Yep.
comes to this, putting all this hype around this team, kind of
Yeah.
came out a little
Yeah.
flat, at least on one side of the ball. But,
So,
I mean, that's okay. It's not a big deal. Wanted to go ahead and kind of share the stats here, before we kind of get into our thoughts and predict or thoughts on the game and whatnot. So just kind of going over some of the stats, with Michigan State here, Aiden Childs, 10 completions on 24 attempts for 114 yards, 2 interceptions, 1 sack, and a lost fumble, but he did recover it. Not the greatest stat line. For a quarterback coming in here, and then K'Ron Lynch Adams, obviously. I didn't really understand this either, but the 9 attempts for 101 yards and the touchdown. Obviously his longest run was for 63 yards. But then
yep.
kind of looking down here at Nate Carter at 19 attempts for 48 yards.
Mm, mm, mm.
Obviously we could see that K'Ron was having the better game and was able to produce a little bit more. I'm not sure why Nate pretty much doubled up on the touches exactly when,
Right.
kept getting stuffed. And I don't know, maybe the offensive line was blocking harder for, K'Ron than what they were for Nate. Maybe the plays were schemed better for K'Ron, or maybe K'Ron just runs better. Don't know. I feel we should have probably kept K'Ron in a little bit more, and maybe he could have crossed the line of north of 200 yards if he'd have
Right.
gotten 10 more touches. Who knows? I mean, if those stat lines are flipped, who knows what he's got? Nothing too impressive with the receiving, really. I mean, the receiving was not phenomenal, obviously. Yeah, offense really wasn't that great. Defense, on the other hand, I mean, I think we all pretty much agree here that defense played pretty stellar.
Mhm.
But I know as we talked off air, you wanted to talk about two things positive, two things negative on
Yeah.
this team. So, I mean, for me, the positive was seeing, to me, I know it's a little early, but seeing one of our running backs be established. In the offensive line, running backs kind of 1-2 combo, one of them being together in a combo and working really well. At least with one of the running backs, it was working really well when it came down to the run blocking.
Yeah.
And then I'd say my other positive thing would be defense played. I know it's Florida Atlantic, but defense played stellar, because I think us three on here can agree. I'm sure most of Spartan Nation would agree that even Scotty Hazelton's defense would have probably given up probably 300-400 yards to the air
Yeah, they would have
and
lost
21
this game.
points.
They would have lost this game.
Without a doubt. So to see the defense, and then to see Joe Rossi, I'm not sure if you remember specifically what drive it was, Jordan, but I think it was their second to last drive, where we gave up the 4th and 8. We only rushed 3, and then we gave up that 4th and 8 on a pass, and then I think 2 plays later on a 2nd and 7, we brought the house. We got the sack, and then on the final 4th down, we rushed 4, but we got to him. We got to the Florida Atlantic quarterback.
Mhm.
So obviously, we know this defense, when rushing 4 or bringing in the house, we can collapse and get them. So obviously, need to keep up that pressure all the way through and through. I'd say 2 negatives for me. Obviously, offense not really clicking really well, not in sync. 16 points. Got to score more than that against a Group of 5 school, regardless how good they are. Got to put up at least 20 points,
I agree.
close to 30. Offense has got to do better. And then I'd say the other one negative point out I had, which has already been addressed by the head coach, but our 4th and 1 in the red zone. We need to kick that field goal. Go up 19-10.
Yep.
Need to kick the field goal. Go up 19-10. Ain't no sense in putting that barely a touchdown lead on FAU. We need to keep that. We need to keep that pressure on them. So What's your guys' thoughts?
You go, Jordan.
Is it just like thoughts on the game or
Give your positives and your negatives on
okay,
the game.
positive. I just want to be positive. Okay. So positives. Um, it was good to see the defense in a backs against the wall situation. Obviously, you don't want to see it first game of the year early on. You kind of want to have like a smasher type of game, but it is good to see, our defense was able to adapt and not, when pressure came on and they had to be the ones to really be the offense and defense. Surprisingly, the defense did their job. No matter how quality the opponent we think it is, the defense did their job, which we haven't really seen them, fully do in games when we need them to show up. So I'll give them their credit. They got 2 turnovers. That was really good to see too. So I was happy to see
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Um, Offensively positive. Like I would go with Devin said. Tanner Miller, I think, shows some really good signs and some things we've never really seen from a center at Michigan State in a really long time. There's a few plays where he was just getting to the next level, taking players out to play, opening holes. So I would say Tanner Miller has showed really that was a really good positive for the offensive line. I know overall the line struggled, but that was a positive. Negatives, receivers getting no separation. I think that the receivers getting no separation affected offensive line, affected Aiden Childs. I think that it made our offensive line look a lot worse. I think Aiden Childs had some time back there to throw the ball. I don't think he was just, he was helpless. I
Yep.
think there was just no one open at times where he just had to run it or take the hit or, nothing was going on. Players looked lost. Like they'd be running a slant. I don't know what people just looked lost. So that was a big concern. And then, the other last concern for offense is just running back. I think Nate Carter doesn't have good vision. I think we need to talk about the vision of Nate Carter. Just like wide receivers, I think it affected how our blocking looked because there was times where you could tell the line was blocking for him to take a specific gap. He wasn't taking the gap. He was just for some reason this man just loves running into people. I don't understand it. He doesn't look. He doesn't run away from people. He runs into people and it just blows me away when like there's a hole that's blocked for him to just run through. Like you don't need to hit anyone, just run through the hole. He'll rather try to truck through someone. So I just think we need to talk about Nate Carter. That's what I got.
Yep. All great points. I would say that. For me, the positive is the defense. Stat that I look at is our sack stat. MSU got 7 sacks. FAU only got 1.
Oh wow, 7 sacks. That's really good.
7 sacks. I mean, it was impressive. That's an impressive stat line to me.
Yeah, that's better than what
Uh,
Scotty Hazelton's defense has had against
yeah, matter of fact, they had 7 sacks
Group
for the
5
whole
teams.
season. So don't,
Yeah, I was about to say
Scotty
there's some seasons we haven't even get like.
whole season. Hey, Joe Rossi, MVP, baby. That's all I can say. MVP, Joe Rossi. Hey, I'd say another positive. Let me think. Yeah, I think I'll give it to K. Ron Lynch Adams. I think that he was the only real spark on offense. The offensive line is better than what was advertised in that game as well. So a lot of things to clean up on offense. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure we'll talk about that. But my negatives, let me just start with Jordan's boy, Nathan Bartholomew Carter. For you to go 19 carries for 48 yards, and like you say he likes to run into people. I'm gonna say this, Nathan Carter, you should be a fullback. If you like running into people, I believe you're big enough. You're big, swole. You big. You cock diesel, but you need to go ahead and play fullback for K. Ron Lynch Adams, and I think we'll have something there. Now, another negative is the wide receiver spot. We don't have a wide receiver 1. I think that Monterey Foster messed that up. I don't know if he's scared. I don't know if he's scared of the spotlight. I don't know. He tried, but it just was not there. The wide receivers, like you said, couldn't get separation from FAU corners or the FAU secondary. So next week is Maryland, which is a faster, stronger team. I don't know what separation you about to get there. They need to run the football. This offense I see now is predicated towards running the football. If you cannot run the football and create that play action, That rollout that Aiden Childs likes to do, he did that like 15 to 20 times that whole game. But it works sometimes, and it just was flat when they're not afraid of you running the football. It nullifies the play action, and they're going to run it regardless. I see that it's the exact same offense as Oregon State. They're going to run that play action with two tight end sets. It's coming, but if the running back is not running into the hole that is designed for him to run, it's not going to work. And we're just playing into the defense, that way. And it's just, we'll see what happens. It's everything can be cleaned up. I like the fact that Aiden Childs spoke to the reporters and put it all on him too. He said it was me. He said the reason why this thing didn't go the way it should have was because of me. And I like that because I agree with him. Because you go 10 of 24 and throw 2 interceptions, that is on you.
Mm-hmm.
That is. I mean, it is. I mean, we can blame the wide receivers if we want to, but ultimately it's on you to get this thing done. So a lot of things to clean up offensively. And the thing is, I said that in the last podcast that was one of my least concerns was the offense. And the defense I was more concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
How one game can flip all of that.
Yeah, and I just think, a lot of Spartan Nation is kind of, hitting the panic button. I mean, is it justified in a sense? Yeah. I mean, considering all the hype we had around this team throughout the offseason, transfer portal, spring camp, all that. I get it. I understand. But to me, like I told you guys in the group chat, I see a lot of parallels with the 2013 to 2015 team. Because and even, some people had already mentioned this too. One, Sir Connor Cook, the great Connor Cook, had a slow start to his first starting year, his sophomore year. And then we all know where that 2013 team went.
Mm-hmm.
Rose Bowl. Beat Stanford, number 4 team in the country. And beat Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. So, ball stomping all over Michigan that year as well.
I listen, I agree with all of that, but at the same time, these defensive players, I say it like this. There's some defensive talent, especially on that line with Dowse, with the safety.
Mm-hmm.
Who's number 2? Dorsey? I don't want to get his name wrong.
Chris Bogle?
Yes, Bogle. Thank you. I didn't want to get his name wrong. But he's starting to I watched more of his tape. He looks very, very more, he looks very good with the D line, the way he's actively trying to get at the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like the number 1 defensive end to me. We got inside pressure now. I mean, we're just creating those sacks. We got 7 sacks. We created all 7 sacks to me.
I mean, and
it's a defensive scheme, which is very good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jordan, I know you'd probably agree with this. I mean, you'd rather have, obviously we want a stellar offense, want a great offense to be able to move the ball, score points, do all this. But that's what we had in 2021, and then somewhat of a decent offense in 2022. And then we really didn't have much of a defense at all, and we see how that ends up turning out, unless you have a special talent like Kenneth Walker. However, I think most of the great MSU teams have always had a stronger defense than they have offense, right? At least that's from my memory, what I remember seeing. The most successful teams have always had a better defense than offense because you can always fall back on it. Yep. I don't know if you agree, disagree with that, Jordan. I mean,
no, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So that's why me personally, I'm not hitting the panic button quite yet.
I'm not quite panicking yet. I just think Maryland's going to be a wake up call for a lot of people. I think Maryland might be the spanking that we need. I think we just need to get, tapped one good time real quick to just be, really brought down to reality. Like, this is going to take work. I'm not against the team. I saw a lot of positive things. I wouldn't say a lot. I would say a good amount of positive things. I just think Maryland is a team that naturally gives Michigan State problems when we are not what we should be. If there's any team in the Big Ten that snuffs out Michigan State not being developed or not being ready or not being good enough to compete, Maryland's always one of those teams that's like we will gladly show your program is not ready for the big leagues right now. So I'm on Michigan State to see if we can turn that. I mean, I'm excited. I think that the good news with this is we've been humbled early and we didn't lose. I think that's the greatest thing that we got from this is being able to be 1-0 and fix mistakes. I think it would have been totally different. We were 0-1 talking about fixing mistakes because you lose a lot of buy-in. That would have been not even Mel Tucker lost his over. So I mean, that would have been
Exactly.
it would have been a way different conversation, a harder talk. So I think that's a positive, a very big positive, because we could have lost
Mhm.
the game. That one play at the last drive, Angelo Gross kind of blew the coverage, and it should have been a holding penalty on him. Like they missed the call. Tight end did like a little cut, went straight ahead. The QB overthrew it, but he was gone. It was a touchdown. If the tight end didn't trip, to touchdown. So we got very fortunate, and I'm glad we could have this discussion 1-0 and hopefully that humbled us before we have to lose to Maryland. Maybe they're just laser focused this week and can come into Maryland and play clean. We'll see. Just I'm just concerned with the penalties, though. I'm just concerned with the penalties and a lot of things I
Yeah.
saw. I just don't see how you clean all that up in 1 week. So I'm curious to
You,
see how
you
they come out.
you can't clean that up in 1 week. The penalties we had 12 penalties for 140 yards. A lot of that was targeting. You know what I'm saying? So it's like just got to clean that type of stuff up. Thank God Maryland's quarterback is not a scrambler. So I think we'll be just fine with that. One thing that we do have to clean up is our third down percentage. We were 3 of 13. That's something that you have to clean up. We need our tight ends to get more involved. I think we got two pretty good tight ends. We need to use them a little bit more. I think Aiden Childs needs to, I don't know, just calm down. He knows his offense. It's no different than what he did at Oregon State.
I
It's
meant,
just a different color jersey. You just gotta find your rhythm.
I meant to say something about that too. I think they also lied about their medical report because Brendan Parachek was not playing in that game. And he's supposed to be our number two, number one tight end. Besides, Belling's there, and then Brendan Parachek is a tight end that's our number two that never played. Unless I'm mistaken, it was Michael Mansunis.
Yep.
Yeah, Michael Masunas had
Yeah,
two
miss on
catches
this.
for 29 yards.
Yep.
So I'm just concerned, and there was a few other guys that didn't play that they didn't put on the report. That I'm like, okay, guys, be honest with us. Like if there's guys who are hurt, tell us. I know they made it look clean. And it was like there's only one injury. Like there was a little bit more that they weren't talking about, but
Right.
that's just me. Once you mentioned tight end, I just thought about that.
Yeah. And as far as the receiving group, before I get up out of here, I think there's no starters to me. This week in practice, I'm like, hey, everybody's gonna get to play wide receiver because I need to find out who I can trust, who I can really put in there, who can create some type of separation and catch the ball and hold on to it without fumbling it. I just need somebody. We don't have a wide receiver one. That is a big problem. In the Big Ten, you need wide receivers.
I agree.
We don't even
And
have
if
a
you don't have any, they just can stack the box. And they play man on both wide receivers. And you effed up then. There's nothing you can do when they say we're gonna put 8 in the box and we're gonna man open everybody else and you can't get open. It's over.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to see they definitely need to clean up. I think the penalties obviously will help quite a bit regardless of the talent level of our offensive skill position players. I think cleaning up those penalties will definitely, just playing cleaner football in general, putting
I
yourself in
agree.
the best position possible to win always is going to do a lot more for you than, with the constant penalties. Obviously, we know Maryland's quarterback, as you mentioned, Rel, not a runner, so maybe probably shouldn't be seeing too many of those targeting calls like we did with a quarterback
Right.
that clearly likes to move with his feet a lot. Probably did that a lot in high school and got away with it, but once you get up to this next level, football starts getting a little more fundamentally sound. People are flying a little bit faster, able to get to the ball a little bit quicker, so I'm thinking we probably won't be dealing with that quite as much as for everything else. Any false starts, defensive holdings, penalties, stuff like anything like that. I'm sure we can get all of that cleaned up, and I'm sure Jonathan Smith, the rest of the coaching staff, are on top of it. They're ready to go. Receivers, heavily got to work this week on getting separation. Help Aiden Childs out. Got to be able to put our young quarterback in the best position possible. Is he going to make mistakes? Yes. He made a mistake in the red zone against Florida Atlantic, throwing a pick. Probably should have just threw that ball away on third down. Nobody's open. You're getting ready to get sacked. Throw that away. We got the 3 points in our hip pocket. Let's take it and keep moving.
Yep.
But oh well, is what it is. We live, we learn from it. Jonathan
Yeah.
Smith, he took responsibility for the 4th down and 1 that we should have kicked the field goal on. Aiden Childs took responsibility for the performance that he had. Obviously, we didn't hear from anybody else, but assuming they probably felt the same way about their performance on the offensive side of the ball, I look forward to things being better for Maryland. Did you guys have any other final thoughts on this game?
Nah, just bring on Maryland, man. It's time to to get better. Time to get better. I mean, it's only up from here. As far as the offensive side goes, I mean, this in my opinion should be the worst game we see from the offense this season. Well, Ohio State is on the schedule, so hold on. We might
maybe we'll get better by then.
Y'all would hope so. Maybe we can find a wide receiver 1 before then. So other than that, man, it's just hey, just the grind starts, man. It's just time to grind, time to work, and come out next week, ready to go. That's it.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Jordan. What you think?
Yeah, I agree. My last little question with receivers is just, where's Nick Marsh? I was just very, I was just my real last question with receivers is like, we heard about him all off season. He got 1 catch, I believe. Never saw him again in the game. I mean, I know Jonathan Smith maybe doesn't want to add too many people in. I just hope he puts the best players in the game and doesn't do that Mark D'Antonio. Let's just
Yeah.
start older people. Let's start the older
Yeah.
guys. I'm going to play nice. I'm going to trust you. I like you. You're older. No matter what you do in this game, you can never lose my trust because you're my guy. You're older. You have a good heart. I don't want to go back to the family golf outings, the family church youth football league. If Nate Carter's not good, he needs to lose his job. If Montorie Foster can't hold on to the football, can't run, he needs to get out the game. So that's just me. I just hope he becomes a little bit more cutthroat a little bit and, is willing to bench players. That's why I'm kind of curious to see if K'Ron Lynch-Adams becomes a starter next week or gets, like you said earlier, Devin, those reps.
Yes.
If maybe
Yes.
Montorie Foster is not the first one coming out on the field, maybe if Isaiah Johnson, any one of those other receivers can come in and try to do his job better or something, something. So that's just what I'm very curious to see towards Maryland. But yeah, I'm excited to see how we can get better. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Those are just a few questions and concerns I had.
Well, all right, we want to thank you folks for listening to another episode of the Spartan Dog Podcast. You guys can find us on Twitter, YouTube at Spartan Dog PC.
Yeah.
Check us out. We got video on there for you guys so you can see
Yes,
our lovely
sir.
faces. We talk about the Spartans each and every week. But yeah, we'll be back within a couple days here. We'll be coming out with another episode of our preview on Maryland and how we feel about that game, what we want to see, what we expect, kind of diagnosing and dissecting the Maryland tape from their game they had because they beat UConn 50-7. So we'll definitely be diving into that to check out and see how that goes. But
Yes, sir.
until we see you guys again, go green.
Go white.
Right.